Tonight, parts of Conception Bay North remain under a state of emergency. Our CBC crews are on the ground. You're looking at a live shot of Western Bay where a roadblock still stands. Experts say a wildfire burning north of that community has been contained. We'll bring you beyond that blockade with Terry Roberts just ahead.
We became engulfed in flames and smoke. It was like, no, we can't make it. We got to back out.
My daughter came in and said, Western Bay's on fire. I'm like, what?
There's a lot of anxiety, a lot of uncertainties right now.
Just a trying time, and everyone's just trying to come together to help people out.
Very difficult night, and some of our families lost their homes, just a few, but everyone is safe.
The East Coast Music Awards Gala is happening tonight with lots of glitz, glamour, and of course, music. I'm live from the red carpet, coming up.
Good evening and welcome to Here and Now. We're bringing you ongoing coverage of the wildfire situation tonight as parts of Conception Bay North remain under a state of emergency. It's an ever-changing situation that has developed hour by hour. Residents have been forced to evacuate from their homes. Power lines have been cut. Emergency shelters set up at schools and community spaces. We're hoping to connect with Here and Now's Terry Roberts now. He's standing by live in Western Bay. Terry, the connection is a little bit touch and go here, but can you tell us what the latest is right now?
Well, Carolyn, the latest is that I'm getting drenched, and you know what? Rain means relief because the ground here in Conception Bay North is also saturated. So there's good news on that front. That means the fire here in Conception Bay North that cut such a devastating swath to the small community like Adams Cove is now contained, is pretty well out. But in the wake of that, major devastation out here. We know that about 600 hectares of forest and underbrush was consumed by that. And among that fire, well, the official count is about 20 homes either damaged or destroyed. That's the official count. But I'm told by officials here that that number is going to increase substantially when when everyone gets to see the light of day. So it's been a lot of lives have been upended here. As you said, there's still a state of emergency here in Adams Cove, and also so that means hundreds of people have been displaced, and people have been, seeking shelter with family, friends, wherever they can. People, as you'll hear from Lisa Hogan, they've even had to sleep in their cars.
I was in the bedroom watching a movie, and my curtains always closed because we're close to the road. And all of a sudden I heard a bang on the door. My daughter came in and said, Western Bay's on fire. I'm like, what? And when I went out, it was right there in the curb line of the house. And like I said, if she didn't come there, God knows what would happen to me because I had TV up, but I'm just lucky that it didn't make it to the house.
What were you seeing as you were escaping all this?
Fire and black smoke, you couldn't see nothing. Yeah, it was horrible. Like, I never felt, it's like, I never went through this before. Like, this is the first time I've ever seen a fire like that. It's really scary. It was really, really scary.
So you couldn't go home. Your town is under an evacuation order right now, Western Bay is, so you can't go back to your home.
No.
So what did you do last night?
We stayed in the car. I stayed in the car. My sister got two dogs, and I got my uncle's dog here. And so we couldn't go in the school with them, right? So we had to stay in the car. It's been about 20 hours now awake, two of us.
So you didn't get any sleep last night?
No.
And how are you feeling emotionally, right? Like your mental state right now, knowing what you've gone through, how are you feeling?
No, I'm happy that my house didn't burn, but there's always a chance they could turn around, right? And come to my house again, right? I could have been gone yesterday. It was so bad, like it's right behind the back of the house, right? And I said, my daughter didn't come, God knows what could happen, right?
So a lot of that goes through your mind, does it?
Yeah, it do.
Did that keep you awake last night as well, thinking about what could have happened?
I could have died, right? Western Bay could have been wiped out. I think everyone that helped us out here, the firefighters, like a marvelous job, the water bombers, the staff in there, and everyone that brought us food and stuff like that.
So I arrived here last evening with videographer Katie Breen, and we were greeted by an apocalyptic scene here on the north shore of Conception Bay, a massive fire, and that, of course, that also touched off a massive response. At one point there were 9 fire pumper trucks here, and talk about your community rallying around one another. They were from all over this area. Dozens of volunteer firefighters putting their own safeties at risk to come here and try and put this fire out. 3 air tankers, helicopters. It was a massive effort, and they did save a lot of buildings through their effort as well. What's miraculous about this, right now we've had no reports of any serious injuries. A few firefighters were treated for smoke inhalation, but nothing too seriously. So some big questions remain here. When will people get to return to their homes to see what's left, or if they do have a home to return to? We don't know that yet, and there's also a big question about electricity. The power lines, utility poles were caught up in all this yesterday, were scorched as well. And the small town response, no surprise there. Shelters were set up, people were donating food, and of course the volunteers, the firefighters, search and rescue, they all came together, and a Herculean effort that we all know so well in small town Newfoundland and Labrador whenever a tragedy, a devastation like this occurs. So reporting live from Western Bay on the north shore of Conception Bay, I'm Terry Roberts.
Well, it's not just the Western Bay area. There were several fires yesterday right across the island. Jeff Motti is the Provincial Forest Fire Duty Officer. He says the season is off to an early start, and he worries this could be a sign of a severe summer.
I'm very concerned. It's May 7th. We had this fire start, and here we are May 8th with 607 hectares on the books already. I just kind of look at every fire season as different. I'm hopeful that the rain's going to come. We're going to get through this really dry period. The majority, if not all, fires this year are all human caused. So if you actually look at the statistics to date, we've got 58 wildfires, and that's burning a total area of 607.8 hectares. If you actually were to look back at this very point in time last year, it would have been 6 wildfires burning 0.9 hectares. So again, we were out. We announced the fire season early this year. We went and announced it on April 24th, which is earlier than historic, which is May 1st.
Well, the weather yesterday not helping the situation for sure, but today a very different story across a good chunk of the island this afternoon. Still a special air quality statement in effect for the northwestern Avalon. I anticipate that will end as we head through the night tonight, but I wanted to show you a look at the fire hazard map today. Now, we're still seeing some areas through Central that are under a high hazard, but across the Avalon now in low hazard at the moment. And that's mainly just because of the rain that we're seeing today. But another factor, and I know we're going to be talking a lot about this through the summer, this is just a look at the current drought conditions across the country. We're seeing some abnormally dry conditions in the yellow, and also anywhere from that to severe drought. But just as far as the province is concerned, we're seeing those abnormally dry conditions up across parts of Labrador. And there you go, the northern Avalon, Bonavista Peninsula, southeastern portions of Labrador, definitely seeing those drought conditions. We'll talk a little bit more about that, and I'll have your forecast a little later.
Thank you, Ashley. Well, after a tense 24 hours, the fire in Small Point, Adams Cove, Blackhead, Broad Cove has been contained, but the area is still under a state of emergency and an evacuation order remains in effect. Residents are just beginning to assess the damage. The CBC's Henrik Wilhelm was there.
There's several water bombers flying, just like this one. And they're fighting the fire here behind me, which has been moving in this direction. That's why in the latest move, the RCMP has moved the barricade further towards Broad Cove. Already last night, Route 70 between Adams Cove and Western Point was blocked. And now they've moved this barricade further down and told more people that they needed to evacuate their homes.
It's been very difficult night, and some of our families lost their homes, just a few, but everyone is safe, which is very important. The firefighters came from all over, and the RCMP, they were just fantastic. They took control and made sure everyone was not entering Adams Cove.
You know, the auto bombers really saved this area, and I'm
Yes.
sure down the shore, I can't vouch for all down the shore, but it did big time right here in Blackhead.
Yeah.
And of course all the volunteers, all the RCMP, everyone.
Yeah.
Just tremendous effort from all up and down the shore, Pearligan up to Carbonear, I'm not sure exact, but everyone chipped in, and that's what got it this far. So we're not out of the woods yet, but like I said, it's in the right direction, I hope, you know.
Yeah.
If things go the correct way, you know, we'll be able to get those you know, active areas knocked down and hopefully make the area safe, so that at some point we can get residents back into the area, you know, to survey the damage and you know, see what they have to do to start rebuilding. You know, there's a lot of anxiety, a lot of uncertainties right now, and we don't even know exactly which homes have been lost. We know general areas where the fire raged and took homes. So, like I said, people are, you know, there's a lot of anxiety. People are obviously very concerned, wondering if they have a home to return to.
We spoke to another resident here who lives in Adams Cove, Pauline White. Her house was spared on a road where a lot of other houses burned down. She went there on a side-by-side earlier this morning, and she said there were scorch marks on her house, and she described the situation as an Armageddon. Now, the recurring theme in all of this seems to be the community spirit. People coming together, helping each other. We've been speaking to volunteers up at the rec center in Broad Cove, and they said the number of people chiming in with food and the children's clothes, diapers, pet food even, is unbelievable. And that's what we heard from people here, that no matter what happens, they will rebuild. Henrike Wilhelm, CBC News, Broad Cove.
And once again, that fire has now been contained, so some good news late this afternoon. Henrika mentioned a woman compared the scene in Adams Cove to Armageddon. That woman was Pauline White, as she said. She's a friend. She and a friend, rather, drove through fire on their ATVs to go back to rescue White's two sisters from a home.
We live in Adams Cove, right at the back of Beggs Road, and that's where the fire cut down through. So we got a call at our friend Lynn's house saying that there was a big fire. So we jumped in the truck and we went on down to, because our two sisters were still there. And they were panicked because they were up there, and the fire chief, they were notified that there were still two women there in the house. What we did was we got aboard our two ATVs. I got aboard mine, and my friend Darlene got aboard hers, and we raced down the back of the track in behind Adams Cove. So we basically drove through fire. There was all fire on the one side of the track. It hadn't jumped the track at that point. So we drove right on down the track. Anyway, the two girls were outside waiting, and so they jumped on the back of our bikes, and we took them and took off. And I didn't know if this fire was going to be passable on the way back because it was right up next to the edge of the trail, so I didn't know if it had jumped or not. But anyway, we got back safe and sound, so everybody's safe and sound. Unfortunately, there's a lot of houses that are lost down there, 12 homes at least.
What about your house?
When we went down this morning on our bikes again, I don't know how those fire people saved our house, but they saved our house. There was black scorching marks, fire everywhere, all around the house, around the side of the garage, back of the garage, over on the other side. It had jumped the driveway. It had burned up the few logs that was on the other side of the driveway. We do have our house and we do have our garage, but there's a lot of smoke damage, and a few houses next to us were saved, but everything else in Adams Cove is right to the ground.
So here's what we've gathered from talking to local residents.
I spoke with a renter who's facing eviction this fall.
It is not for the weak of stomachs. What does it mean for you to be able to give that advice and to know that you've helped? Don't look down.
If this is something that you didn't know about, let me tell you.
Heather Gillis, CBC News, Happy Valley Goose Bay.
St. John's.
Corner Brook.
Shaji, Inuk First Nation.
Grand Falls, Windsor.
New West Valley, Newfoundland and Labrador.
Well, this is your live look at this year's East Coast Music Awards red carpet. The performers and nominees are rolling in for tonight's gala. It's set to start at 8 p.m. in St. John's. The East Coast Music Awards are in town. It's one of the Canadian music industry's biggest weeks. And tonight is the ECMA Gala, live from the Mary Brown Centre in St. John's. That's where Here and Now's Maddie Ryan is this evening, down in the thick of it as artists begin arriving for tonight's show. So Maddie, this is the main event, right?
That's right. This is the big night. It's the East Coast Music Awards Gala, and I'm here walking the red carpet, taking in all the excitement, all the fashion, of course. And things all kicked off last night at the Jags Townhouse with performances from Nick Davis and Thin Love, With Violet, and the Irish Descendants. And of course, a lot of folks were paying tribute to the late Mark Hiscock of Shanneyganock. It was an emotional and somber night with lots of tears from people in the audience. Here's a little bit of what we saw last night.
Welcome to the kickoff party for the 2025 East Coast Music Awards, right here in the vibrant heart of the downtown St. John's.
way home. I started, left the girls at tune, so sad and broken hearted, salute the father.
I've been coming to ECMAs for about 10 years. My first one was actually in St. John's, which was awesome. And it's great to be back in St. John's. And just love taking in the music and seeing musician friends and taking in a great week.
But I lost it and I fell. Learned yesterday afternoon that my good friend Mark Hiscock wasn't doing very well and probably wasn't going to make it. And I've known Mark since he was a little boy, playing music on the Skidemia. Anybody can remember that? And that's where him and Chris Andrews met and formed Shannigannock about 30 years ago. And I'm going to sing a special song for Mark. And maybe a little beacon of light might help. So get your phones out and get those flashlights going on the phones. And let Mark know that you're here. Take me back to my western home.
It's a huge loss for the province and for our culture and for our history. Like it feels weird to have such a legend be legend now and not be able to see them, perform their craft is really heartbreaking. Obviously, it gives a bit more somber of a mood to the event, but it's also really great that we can all gather here and kind of talk and remember him probably how he would want to be remembered. At least I hope. There's not a household that wasn't touched by him and his music, so it's definitely going to be a big hole.
Shannigannock is just a huge part of the Newfoundland music scene, and you very rarely have a party without it, so he'll be missed. He'll surely be missed, whether you knew him personally or not.
I think one thing that's really special, I've been around to different ECMAs, one thing that's really special here, it's got the kind of the down home feel. So everybody's very relaxed, and St. John's is just like a kitchen party, and it's just a really great time to be together and meet people and take some great music in.
Shannigannock is still playing at the gala tonight. They will kick things off, and it's something guests are really anticipating here. Of course, the band won't be the same without Mark Hiscock. In addition, throughout the weekend, we'll also get to hear from a lot of great musicians from all across the East Coast, including PEI's Dee Dee Austin. Hi, Dee Dee.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So first of all, just remind us, what are you nominated here for tonight?
So this year I'm nominated for Indigenous Artist of the Year for the very first time.
Amazing, congratulations. And you were just off the heels of a Canadian tour, and St. John's was your last stop. How does it feel to celebrate the ECMAs here?
It honestly feels incredible. I've never been to St. John's with the ECMA happening here, so I'm super honored to be here, and it seems like it's the life of the party here, so I'm very happy to be here.
And what are you most excited for this week?
This week I'm playing the awards gala for the very first time. This is only my third ECMA, and I am so stoked. I can't wait.
Okay, well, congratulations, Dee Dee. I hope you enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you.
Reporting live from the red carpet at the East Coast Music Awards in St. John's, I'm Maddie Ryan.
Well, iceberg season brings big business to towns like Twillingate, and there's plenty to see in that part of the province. Here now's Troy Turner takes us there, where fingers are crossed for a busy tourism season.
There's good reason they call it Iceberg Alley. This season, the Twillingate coastline is riddled with these massive glacial chunks, and the visitors are washing in with them.
It's totally amazing. I've never seen it before. They're beautiful. They are almost mystical.
Look at the sun shining through the blue, right? And a jet plane going overhead.
David Boyd has been giving iceberg tours for more than 40 years. A retired teacher, even when he's not operating his tourism business, he's out on the water.
I just finished crab fishery last week, right? And we're getting ready now to put out our lobster traps. And in between, it's our pleasure to take people out to the icebergs.
Twillingate welcomed this season's first iceberg back in March. Boyd hopes this new wave of bergs will be the start of a busy season.
Right now, it's looking pretty good, I must say. There's a lot of icebergs now and icebergs on the horizon.
It's phenomenal. Like, I spent a lot of time up on the mainland, and it was only a couple of years ago I really got to see my first iceberg in the pack ice movement in Newfoundland. So it's mesmerizing to know that the world is that big. The rocks move, and ice is a rock, and we get to watch them float by our lovely little alley.
We kind of knew we were going to have a good one this year. We just love out watching them. It's definitely great to see the history and think of how old that ice is.
Let's go and take a look at this one that Susan said was like a moose, okay? So let's go and take a look.
Boyd sees lots of value in these floating chunks of ice.
Iceberg tourism is monumentally important to this part of the province. It's just incredible the number of people now that are supplementing their income, having something to put their mind on, making life more interesting and exciting, meeting people from all over the world. You know, it's not just the money but it's just the quality of life.
From this view here at Crow Head, you can see about 20 icebergs, many of them small, but that makes for some increased activity in the region, especially in the tourism sector, and locals expect more visitors to come as word gets out. Troy Turner, CBC News, Twillingate.
Ashley, some positive signs, it seems, there in Twillingate that there might be a good iceberg watching season this year, and the weather looked gorgeous.
It certainly has been fairly nice over, the last little bit. Lots of sunshine across the province as well. Also some very mild temperatures, especially today. Let's take a look at the map as far as the highs go. First 20-degree temperature in St. John's. 21 is what the actual temperature was at the airport. Areas through Central, you've seen 20 a few times already, but another day as well in Gander. Very different story though for Twillingate, only reaching a high near 3 degrees this afternoon. That is because of where the winds were blowing. We're seeing more onshore temperatures, onshore winds rather, keeping those temperatures quite cold. That's the story for St. Anthony, up across Labrador as well, only reaching the 0-degree mark this afternoon. So definitely a wide range of temperatures. But one of the things that was helping with the fire today, helping with the suppression of the fire today, was the fact that it was very humid out. Fires don't like humidity. They like dry conditions. They're easier to spread. But today, very different story. Relative humidity fairly high as well. But at one point today, the Humidex was 25 degrees on the Avalon. Now still fairly humid. It's 15 degrees in St. John's. Feels more like 18. with that humidex. But again, very different story where those winds are blowing onshore. And we're going to continue to see that change as we head through the night tonight. So just plotted the fire in the Adams Cove area just to show you the rain that was moving through. We did see some heavier showers earlier today or earlier this evening, as you saw from Terry's piece there. But most of that rain has now moved further east, and we're seeing some heavier showers move across the metro area, and we'll continue to see that as we head through the night tonight. Now, with the up across the northern portion of the northern peninsula, where those winds are blowing onshore, temperatures are very different. 0 degrees right now, still in St. Anthony, reporting some snow. And then we can see just barely showing up on the radar there. Some areas are seeing some freezing drizzle. No surprise. The Bayswater Peninsula is seeing temperature around the 0 degree mark. And as we head through the night tonight, we're going to continue to see this push offshore, which will be good news. So we'll see that rainfall warning for the northern peninsula, and as we head through tonight, most of the shower activity should as well. Now, we may see a few showers over the course of the overnight, but that should be about it until we head through to the morning hours. But once we see those winds shift, the temperature will drop dramatically tonight, and there's still a risk that we'll see some freezing drizzle there for the Green Bay, White Bay area as we head into the morning hours. So overnight temperatures should hover around the 1 or 2 degree mark for most. You'll see that wind shift to more northerly. Temperatures along the south coast will be the warmest, between 6 to 7 degrees overnight tonight. And then a quiet but cold night up across Labrador. Temperatures generally in the minus single digits, minus teens though for Lab City. You should have around minus 13. Into tomorrow, notably much colder across a good chunk of the island. And again, that's because of these onshore winds. Now, there's still a chance that we'll see some showers through the afternoon, generally cloudy. Beautiful day expected up across Labrador as you see plenty of sunshine, but it will remain unsettled. We're looking at another shot of showers potentially for the eastern half of the, at least the Avalon, the eastern portion of the Avalon, will likely see some showers, and that will continue through a good chunk of the overnight and into early Saturday morning. Now, as far as the temperatures go tomorrow, like I said, much colder because of those winds. Anywhere along the northeast coast, we'll be looking at daytime highs between 3 and 7 degrees through the day. Now, central, west, and even parts of the southern Avalon may reach the double digits tomorrow afternoon. That's just because you're going to be away from that onshore flow. But your winds will generally be out of the east around 20 to 40 kilometers per hour. Now, Labrador, beautiful sunny day. Lots of warm temperatures as well, except along the strait, you may see your temperatures likely around the single digits, but otherwise between 10 to 13 degrees, plenty of sunshine, but it's all going to change. There's some snow in the forecast, and I'll get into that in the long range.
Returning now to our top story, a wildfire that forced residents to evacuate their homes in Conception Bay North is now contained. Provincial Forest Fire Duty Officer Jeff Motti joins me now. So some good news today. Can you tell us the latest and what it means for a fire to be contained?
So I'm glad you mentioned that. We got some good news today. So the fire status has changed to contained or being held. Really, the two words really mean the same thing, but what it means is with 50% of that perimeter contained, we're comfortable in stating the fact that we don't expect that fire perimeter to grow any further. So with our current committed resources on site, we don't anticipate any growth in that perimeter, and we can really start working within the perimeter on the edges of it to just, go around, identify hotspots and continue to put them out and suppress that. And hopefully before long, we would see another status change. But right now, crews are on site, morale is good. And there was light rain reported on site. We've got some better mapping. The fire is now reported to be 501 hectares. We've had water bombers on that early today. It ran several missions, and the tankers have been off the site, returned to Gander. and now the ground crews. We've got 8 personnel out there. They're really working with their emergency partners out there as well to just seek and destroy those hotspots. And we've got other personnel out there that are really just kind of trying to get an understanding what the full extent of the structure damage is. Right now, there's more than 20 structures reported to be damaged by the wildfire.
And when you say 20 structures, are we talking homes or other types of buildings? Do you know like what kind of structures they are?
So that's like, you typically see the footprint of a structure being like a cement foundation. So it could be a home, it could be a garage, could be a shed. And there is one recreational building out there, a bigger style warehouse that held recreational vehicles within. Not a full understanding of what the contents are. Right now, we've got our departmental staff working alongside the fire department and the RCMP to really do a really thorough job on getting a full report card on what the structure damage is. So we can comfortably say that we're confident in the number of more than 20, but it could be more.
Crews seem to get this one under control fairly quickly. What were some of the factors working in their favor?
Some of the factors working in the favor is the province is very fortunate to have aviation assets like CL-415s. And those water bombers are some of the most powerful firefighting tools that are in our toolbox. We also have a helicopter there that's got a bucket on it, so it can do more strategic type drops. But the aviation assets, they kind of go in first and really bring the fire down to ground level where it's safe for our wildland firefighters to go in.
There were multiple fires yesterday, like on the Avalon. Do you have any idea how these fires may have started?
The majority, if not all, fires this year are all human caused. So if you actually look at the statistics to date, we've got 58 wildfires, and that's burning a total area of 607.8 hectares. If you actually were to look back at this very point in time last year, it would have been 6 wildfires burning 0.9 hectares. So again, we were out. We announced the fire season early this year. We went and announced it on April 24th, which is earlier than historic, which is May 1st. We fully kind of understood what the impact of the snow levels were. We typically don't get our snow levels like we once did in previous years. So if you're not getting your fall snowpack and you're not really getting your deep snowpack over the winter, it quickly dissipates earlier in the season and in the spring. So, we're tracking all those things.
Looking at the conditions out there now and the lack of snow and that sort of thing, and just the number of fires that we're having this early in the season, how concerned are you that this could be a sign that we may be in for a more severe forest fire season this year?
I'm very concerned. It's May 7th. We had this fire start, and here we are May 8th with 607 hectares on the books already. I just kind of look at every fire season as different. I'm hopeful that, the rain's going to come. We're going to get through this really dry period, and we're going to get to green up. But, it is really early in the fire season. And when you look at a variety of different sources out there, like the Canadian drought mapping, like the drought conditions that it shows on their mapping shows the Avalon as being abnormally dry. So it shows the southwest coast and the Port Basque areas being abnormally dry, and some other parts, and especially central Labrador and western Labrador. So there's definitely drought conditions throughout the island, and that is with the rate and natural conditions, not human caused fires such as lightning. If you got abnormally dry and drought conditions, like lightning can really cause havoc in your future. I would strongly encourage everyone to have wildfire prevention and education and mitigation on their minds as we go through the spring, because we really do not want any more fires popping up.
Absolutely. Okay. Well, Jeff Motti, thank you so much for this update, and I'm sure you'll be keeping a close eye on the situation. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
As we've been hearing, forest fire crews were successful in containing the wildfire in the community of Small Point, Broad Cove, Blackhead, Adams Cove, but a lot of damage was done. Officials say about 20 structures, including homes, have been affected. Earlier today, reporter Henrika Wilhelm spoke with Jerry Rogers, who was evacuated from her home in the area.
We just got the notice to evacuate. We've been on vigil all evening, all through the night. And the fire started yesterday afternoon, and we saw it when it just started, when the flames were just shooting up over here. We were just on our way back from a swim in Carbonear, and we called in the 911. So it's been incredible. You know, there's at least 13 houses that are gone. Some of those are people who live here full time. Some of those are seasonal people. And but it's been amazing to watch all the firefighters and the RCMP and the volunteers. It's just been great. You know, we're a small community. There's only about 300 to 400 people, and there's 4 communities in one, and I gave it a motto. It's Small Point, Broad Cove, Blackhead, Adams Cove, the smallest town with the longest name and the biggest heart, and it has the biggest heart. A lot of seniors here, so it's hard. At one point, you know, they had to cut off. The fire spread so rapidly, and the wind was so strong yesterday and all through the night. And so it passed our house. We were safe. But then last night it started to creep back towards our place. And, you know, the funny thing is that we have a passive house. It's really eco-friendly and efficient, and we didn't cut down any trees. And now if the fire reaches, it's the trees that are going to get us. But they couldn't work at night. It was too dangerous for the firefighters to work at night. And of course, the water bombers couldn't fly at night. And they were to be here at 6 in the morning, but they couldn't operate because of the fog. So we've just seen one that's just gone over to our house, is just right over there, right on the water. And that's an ironic thing too. So it's just dumped its load there. So that's a good thing. But it's ironic that here we are, you know, surrounded by water, and we're burning. But I think this is a direct result of climate change. We have hardly had any snow this year, hardly any snow last year. We've had hardly any rain, and the ground is so parched. It's so incredibly parched. And, you know, many of us thought, oh boy, you know, when we saw the fires in California or when we saw the fires in Portugal, that how lucky we are and how safe we are. You know, there's another water bomber now coming. So our house is just, and what's happened is that the fire has crept. It was creeping all night slowly, but then it started. See, that's where our house is, where he's just, they've just dumped the load of water. So everybody's been working so hard. But,
what does that house mean to you?
Well, you know, it's a house that we built, and it's a big house because we wanted to share it, and we've shared it with a lot of people. Last night we had people we fed, but our friends come, family comes, and it was a house that my partner Peg was so committed to that we would make it as eco-friendly. We didn't cut down any trees, you know. We made it as eco-friendly and as environmentally friendly as we possibly could. But you know, nobody's been hurt that we know of, and that's what's important. I mean, if we rebuild, so be it.
Well, a new pope has been chosen by the conclave. American-born Cardinal Robert Francis Prevost appeared in front of a cheering crowd in Vatican City. Prevost is elected as the first American pope in the 2,000-year history of the Catholic Church. Born in Chicago, he has spent much of his career as a missionary in South America and most recently led a powerful Vatican office for the appointment of bishops. Prevost is the 267th pope and has chosen the name Pope Leo XIV. Well, Gemma Hickey has been in Rome during the papal conclave. Hickey is a survivor of clergy abuse from this province and an outspoken advocate. This morning, ahead of the big announcement, they spoke with CBC about what they want to see in the church's next leader.
This is a pivotal time for the Catholic Church and one where we're looking ahead, and we want the next pope to build on the attempts that Francis made to actually prioritize the safety of children and vulnerable adults over the protection of the institution. And I've been here now many times to Rome. This is probably my 5th trip in the last year. We've been working with the Pontifical Gregorian University with theologians there to revise canon law in June. We were hoping to present that. Pope Francis passed on. And now we're looking ahead to the next pope and trying to deliver our message ahead of the conclave so that they know where we stand, because we're not going to be patient any longer. They've been aware now for many, many, many years, even before it became out in the public. So we've had enough talk. It's time for action. Survivors deserve more than symbolic gestures. We deserve action, and action now. And back home where I'm from, Newfoundland and Labrador, we have a lot of dioceses that are going bankrupt. Parishioners are also bearing the burden, bearing the cost of the sins of our fathers through losing their churches to settle court cases. And so, we've suffered already. The wound has never closed. I don't know if it will. But what we need to see are some reforms. And what we want is for a universal law, through canon law, to be applied all over the world. So in 2002, the Pope made an exception for the U.S. bishops based on what happened in Boston and elsewhere in the United States. And we want that norm applied globally. So that's what we've been working on, and we're going to keep at that, and that's going to be on the forefront of our agenda.
look at that one over there.
Is this good?
Yeah, a little bit more. That felt good.
Therapeutic almost.
There's a wrestling ring down there. What's that about?
This is wild.
We've had a lot of coverage on the show tonight about the forest fires, and just want to reiterate something interesting that Jeff Motti said earlier about the comparison between the wildfires we've had this year compared to last year. And I don't know if you caught it, but last year by this point in time we had 6 wildfires, and now we're at 58. So quite the difference from last year, and I guess it's all because of those dry conditions out there.
Yeah, that's definitely not helping the situation. And, you know, I showed you that the drought monitor and how dry it is in parts of the province. You know, this is something that we've been talking an awful lot about over the last couple of years, and I do think we're going to be talking a lot more about it. So it is, you know, even more important, you know, that we're more fire smart, right? Like we have been in the past, but even more so now.
Yeah, something to keep in mind for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about the weather now. Unfortunately, we saw with Terry earlier, and your forecast, lots of rain there, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, and cooler temperatures as well. We're in for a little bit of a roller coaster over the next couple of days. Let's take a look at what's going on. There is more rain on the way, though. We'll certainly see that Friday evening for the Avalon. And then by the time we get into Saturday, the first part of the morning anyway, should just be increasing cloud up across Labrador. But you see that purple, or I guess blue, creeping back in. That is the chance for some snow, and that will be the case up across parts of Labrador. Generally quiet across the island, at least for the first part of the day, generally looking at just some cloudy periods through the afternoon. But we'll see that bigger push of moisture move in through the evening hours. And on the backside of that, some much colder air. So you can see the difference across Labrador. 16 degrees in Happy Valley Goose Bay, 6 degrees in Lab City. So a very different story across the island as well, depending on where you are. Those onshore winds are going to keep temperatures cooler along the northeast coast, 4 or 5 degrees. But you head through central, west coast temperatures in the teens through the afternoon. But we will see that rain move back in, like I said, through Sunday. Most of Sunday is actually, at least the first part of the day anyway, is going to be fairly rainy. But we should see some clearing in behind that. Then that colder air will move towards central areas of Labrador and then towards the coast. We're talking about the potential for some accumulating snow through the day, which may exceed about 10-15 centimeters. So we're going to have to keep an eye on that one as well. But overall, that's where most of that cold air will be. We will see those temperatures moderate across the island a little bit more, between 10 to 14 degrees. Onshore winds, though, again, keeping things cool for the south coast, and then same thing for the northern peninsula. 2 degrees for Happy Valley Goose Bay, so a very big change in temperatures from Saturday to Sunday. Which is the reason why you're going to see the accumulating snow, and that will be the case towards the coast as well. We may even see some flurries on Monday in St. John's and eastern Newfoundland as well. Back down to the single digits. That will be the story for Tuesday with generally cloudy skies. And then for central and western Newfoundland, you're also going to see that potential for a wintry mix on Monday. Tuesday recovering, though, 7 to 9 degrees with some sunshine. And then for Labrador, after that drop in temperatures on Sunday, we will see those temperatures head back up towards normal. That will be the case for Western Labrador as well, with between 10 to 12 as your daytime highs. Our weather photo today taken in CBS. Golden hour, a beautiful sunset there. Thank you so much for sharing that great shot, Raymond. If you have any weather photos that you would like to share with us, we love to see them. And you can do that by sending them to my Facebook page or emailing them to nlphotos@cbc.ca.
Wow, that's a beautiful shot. Thank you so much, Raymond. How are you feeling over there, Ashley?
I'm all right.
You all right?
I don't sound good, but...
You sound great.
Well, what do you know?
You've gotten through it beautifully.
That's right, yeah.
Okay, well, that's it for us. Thank you so much for spending part of your evening with us. I hope you can join us again tomorrow.
Good night.